Hello everyone, my name is Brennan Marr, and that noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And welcome to Page Turners They Were Not My Star Wars podcast. Alright, for today's podcast, we're going to celebrate the actors of the Star Wars saga. I am going to go through each Star Wars film in chronological order and give you my thoughts on which actor gave the best performance in each film. Let's begin with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Liam Neeson gave the best performance in this film, in my opinion, in a film that was a little bit lacking of interesting characters, in my opinion. I think Qui-Gon may have been the most interesting. Not only was he well written, surprisingly, considering that George Lucas is not the best writer of characters. And also he was very, very well acted by Liam Neeson. I had never heard of Liam Neeson at this point, but to me, when I think of the Phantom Menace, when I first saw it, I was very much impressed by this Liam Neeson person. I had not seen Schindler's List or Rob Roy or any of his films he'd been in. But the one thing that has never changed about my opinion of the Phantom Menace, as it's evolved over the course of many years, is my feelings about Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn being the best part and the best actor, or at least to give the best performance in the Phantom Menace. Alright, Attack of the Clones. Christopher Lee, or should I say Sir Christopher Lee. Attack of the Clones, in my opinion, has a slew of terrible performances. Ewan McGregor does a little bit better, but when he's on screen with some of the other bad performances, it doesn't help him any. But the one actor who does not seem to be let down by any of the bad performances around him, the overuse of CG and the weird directorial choices, is the legendary Sir Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee had quite a comeback in my generation, with appearing as Saruman the White in The Lord of the Rings, and then as Count Dooku. Now, we don't see a lot of Count Dooku or Christopher Lee, but I think what we do see left an impression on me. My favorite scene in Attack of the Clones is when Count Dooku is meeting with Obi-Wan, when Obi-Wan is being held prisoner by the Geonosians. A person who I think really brings depth of performance, depth of character, is Christopher Lee as Count Dooku. I think even though the character appears very small amounts, what he did do left a big impression on me, and that is why I count Sir Christopher Lee as giving the best performance in Attack of the Clones. Revenge of the Sith. Yet again, you've got some questionable performances. Yet again, Ewan McGregor is quite good, despite the fact that when he appears on screen with some of the other actors who are not acting well, I just don't feel it. I think Yoda is quite well done in Revenge of the Sith. But I think the one who ultimately takes the cake is Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine. Even when he's chewing the scenery, I still think he gives the best performance in the film. Because even chewing the scenery, even the ridiculous over the top, even the unlimited power, even that, as ridiculous as it is exactly what is called for by the character. Ian McDiarmid delivers and delivers in spades. So Ian McDiarmid as Emperor Palpatine, to me, is the best performance in Revenge of the Sith. Alright, now we come chronologically to Solo, a Star Wars story. This one is quite easy for me. It's Woody Harrelson as Tobias Beckett. Woody Harrelson is on quite the upswing in his career lately, having appeared in the Hunger Games quadrilogy. Actually, I'm not sure if it's quadrilogy or quadrilogy. Having appeared, of course, in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which got him an Oscar nomination, losing to his fellow co-star, Sam Rockwell. And, of course, as Tobias Beckett. Woody Harrelson has built a career playing scallywags and ne'er-do-wells. And Tobias Beckett is no exception. He's the lovable rogue, which Woody has built a career out of playing. And I think is just so believable and so charming that, his death at the end, while tragic, was necessary, but you really feel sadness for him because as much of a scallywag as he was, we all loved him. And so, to me, Woody Harrelson, by far, gave the best performance in Solo. Which is not to take anything away from the other actors. Because Solo, I think, was a very well-cast film. Okay, Rogue One. To me, the best performance in Rogue One is Donnie Yen as Chirrut Imwe. Now, I have heard a lot of praise directed towards Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso. I'm going to say something controversial. I find her character boring. Now, that may be because of the way the character is written. She is a passive protagonist. She doesn't really take much of an active role in the story, as opposed to Rey, who takes a very active role in her story. And so I didn't find Felicity Jones as good in Rogue One. Donnie Yen, though, everything he's in, I love him in. I think he brings such energy, he brings such character. He brings a nice bit of humor to Rogue One, which is that, I think Chirrut and K2SO are really the only comic relief characters. Though, admittedly, Chirrut is not exactly comic relief. He just... Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus, his bodyguard, provide some humor. But to me, Donnie Yen really gave the best performance in Rogue One. Alright, now we come to the original film, Star Wars. To me, that's easy. It's Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. George Lucas and his casting department did a brilliant job in hiring a veteran actor who had already had an Oscar on his mantle. Alec Guinness had won the Oscar for Best Actor 20 years prior to Star Wars, in David Lean's masterpiece, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Sir Alec Guinness, was a great thespian, one of the greatest actors that Britain has ever known. There is such an understated quality to his performance as Obi-Wan. Alec Guinness was the master of understated acting. He played it down, kind of like Mark Rylance as Colonel Abel in Bridge of Spies. They don't overdo it. They play it down. Everything's downplayed. But nonetheless, there was so much depth there. Some of the acting choices that Alec Guinness made are brilliant because they fit so well. Such as that breath he takes when Luke asks him, "How did my father die?" And Obi-Wan kind of takes a breath before telling Luke the truth. Or at least from a certain point of view. And we can read that as he's deciding what's best to reveal at that point. Whether that was intended or not, that's a brilliant little moment. Which, by the way, kudos to Joseph Scrimshaw for being the one to point that out. There is such a quiet sense of grace and command that Alec Guinness has in the performance as Obi-Wan. There is a sense of he owns it when he's on screen. Even when he's doing what seems to be relatively little. So, Alec Guinness, to me, gave the best performance in Star Wars. And arguably the best performance Star Wars has ever seen in the entire saga. The Empire Strikes Back. Okay, this one's a tie. Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and Frank Oz as Yoda. There's so much I could say, and if I don't stop myself, I'll just run my mouth off with praise. I think that Frank Oz, as a puppeteer, does not get the credit he deserves as a truly remarkable actor. Credit also goes to the other people who were helping him operate Yoda. But the voice, the characterization, you never doubt for a moment that Yoda's real. And Frank Oz, with the voice, with the decision to say those lines in a backwards way, which is his decision, made Yoda into a truly extraordinary character. And a great performance is that he really emotes, and yet again has such a command of the screen. Harrison Ford as Han Solo. This, I think, is where the character is the strongest. In the Star Wars saga, is in Empire Strikes Back. He really makes this character both, headstrong and, kind of a, what's the right word? Kind of bullheaded. And also can be vulnerable and affectionate and caring. He really plays a lot of emotions in the movie. And Harrison Ford is a remarkable actor who I think is one of our great actors currently, who maybe doesn't get enough credit for how good of an actor he is. So, those are the ties. Harrison Ford and Frank Oz. Okay, Return of the Jedi. Yet again, it's Palpatine. It's Ian McDiarmid. There's not much more I need to say, because I've already said it when discussing Revenge of the Sith. So Ian McDiarmid is Palpatine in Return of the Jedi. I think gives the best performance. Alright, Force Awakens. Well, that's easy. And it's a tie, yet again. It's John Boyega as Finn, and Harrison Ford as Han Solo. And yes, I am going to include Han Solo more than once on this rundown, because I think when they first announced the movie, a lot of people were not sure that Harrison Ford would return. But he did, and thank goodness he did, and his performance was great. In my opinion, his performance had kind of slumped in Return of the Jedi. But in The Force Awakens, he was back with a passion, giving a marvelous performance as an older, more seasoned, yet still vulnerable and flawed character. Brilliantly done. And, of course, John Boyega as Finn. What a marvelous breath of fresh air this character was. So much energy, so much passion, so much charisma. There's so much of a sense of multidimensional quality to him. His chemistry with Daisy Ridley as Rey was marvelous. And John Boyega is also incredibly funny, which I thought was great too. And great energetic, great physical energy. So, yet again, a tie between John Boyega and Harrison Ford. Alright, The Last Jedi. Adam Driver is Kylo Ren. Of the sequel trilogy, I believe this is where he gives his strongest performance. So much passion, so much command, able to become a sort of a brooding dark prince without seeming pathetic. And Adam Driver is a marvelous actor who really gets into it and brings so much passion to the role. So, in The Last Jedi, Adam Driver. Alright. And, lest we forget, another tie. I almost completely forgot. Adam Driver is Kylo Ren. Tied with Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. An older, flawed Luke who ultimately becomes the hero we all know he is. I don't think, even in the original trilogy, that Mark Hamill's performance was amazing. But this time around it was. Getting to see this older version of Luke trying to run away, but ultimately embracing his destiny. So it's a tie. Adam Driver and Mark Hamill. Alright, and now, The Rise of Skywalker. Well, I believe in The Rise of Skywalker, the best performance given is Daisy Ridley. Now, the reason I did not include her in the other two films is because in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, I feel that there were a few moments where her performance is a bit wooden. I still think she was marvelous. And I believe it's in The Rise of Skywalker where the character really comes to her full. And Daisy Ridley really gives a marvelous performance. That's all I gotta say. Daisy Ridley in The Rise of Skywalker. So those are my thoughts on those actors who gave the best performances in each of the Star Wars films. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know if you have other choices. My name is Brendan Moore. That noise you hear is my ventilator, and thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.